For the benefit of those who do not understand my native language, our khutbah for today is maintaining the ties of kinship. My brothers and sisters in Deen, the ties of kinship, maintaining the ties of kinship is very, very important. And it is obvious from the teachings of the Quran and Hadith that it is very important to maintain the ties of kinship in Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not like those who sever the ties of kinship. And that is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has warned us in various verses of the Quran. In Surah An-Nisa, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, chapter 4 of the Quran, verse 1, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. In this noble verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is calling upon mankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمُ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُم مِّن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O mankind, fear your Lord, who created you from one soul, مِن نَفْسٍ وَاحِدَةٍ وَخَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا. And from that one soul, Allah created for it what? Its mate. وَبَثَّ مِنْهُمَا رِجَالًا كَثِيرًا وَنِسَاءً. And what? And dispersed from both of them many men and women. That's from that one individual, Allah created a mate. From that mate, Allah and the other individual, Allah what? Created men and women and made them what? Many. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that what? وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ الَّذِي تَسَاءَلُونَ بِهِ وَالْأَرْحَامِ. And fear Allah, through whom what? To ask one another. And the wombs what? And the wombs that you come out from. وَالْأَرْحَامِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ عَلَيْكُمْ رَقِيبًا. Allah is ever over you an observer. In this verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making it known to us that we are from the same source. And for that reason, we must make efforts to do what? To unite. We must make efforts to what? To do things together and not see each other as enemies. We must make efforts that what? You settle whatever it is between you and what? Your relations. People who are related to you by blood, you have to make sure that you treat them well. You have to make sure that whatever it is that they are right, they get it from you. And whatever it is that is your right that you are demanding from them, you fear Allah in demanding your rights as well. And for that reason, you must make sure that you make sure that you and your relatives, you take care of them, you do what is expected of you. This verse of the Quran is teaching us that we should unite as people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also what? Dislikes those who want to sever the ties of kinship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cursed them. In Surah Al-Ra'd, chapter 13, verse 25, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُوصَلَ وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ أولئك لهم اللعنة ولهم سوء الدار. In this noble verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَالَّذِينَ يَنْقُضُونَ عَهْدَ اللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مِيثَاقِهِ. But for those who break the covenant of Allah after contracting it, وَيَقْطَعُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَنْ يُوصَلَ وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And they and sever that which Allah has ordered them had ordered to be joined. What Allah has asked them to join, they sever it. And what? وَيُفْسِدُونَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. And they spread corruption on the earth. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ اللَّعْنَةُ وَلَهُمْ سُوءُ الدَّارِ. For them is the curse, and they will have the worst home. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will place his curse on them, and they will what? They will dwell in hell, to have one of the worst homes to dwell in on the day of resurrection. So this verse is a warning to those who sever the ties of kinship, those who sever their relationship with their family, the people that they come from the same source. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling you that if you sever it, then you what? You will be cursed. And on the day of resurrection, you will have one of the worst homes. My brothers and sisters, indeed, let us try as much as possible. Now, whatever the situation we find ourselves, we must make sure that we unite with our what? With our relations, with our kinsmen. We must make sure that we are in good relationship with our kinsmen. Do not say because your aqidah is different from that of your brother, or because this your uncle or your aunt, your aqidah is different from theirs, and for that reason you will not relate with them. For that reason you treat them like they are not humans, or for that reason you take them as enemies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in support of that. You must make sure that what at all times that you relate with your relatives, your kinsmen, as expected of you, as Allah has ordained you. You make sure that you do not sever the ties of kinship. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that even our parents, we should be good to them, even when they are what? When they are not believers. He said, وَإِنْ جَاهَدَاكَ عَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِمَا لَيْسَ لَكَ عِلْمٌ به فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. That if they come to you with what? Something that you have no knowledge about it. That if they ask you to associate partners unto Allah, فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. But He has told us that what? وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. What? Be good to your parents. So this is for you to know that irrespective of whatever it is, make sure that you are good to them. Make sure that you relate with your relatives as expected of you. Today we see people who sever ties with their parents. You see a son not speaking with his father, not relating with his father or his mother because of something, because of some misunderstanding. Sometimes even due to politics. Sometimes due to the aqidah, the difference in aqidah. Sometimes due to something, a different ideology or mentality. Or because we feel, my father is old, our generation is different, we're more advanced, we're more modern, and so on. For that reason, you refuse to relate with your father because you feel he's still thinking like in the olden days. My brothers and sisters, indeed, this is not permissible for you. You must make sure that you relate with your what? With your kinsmen, your father, your mother, and every other person that is related to you. You must make sure that you treat them well. You make sure that you do what is expected. Recently, I heard of something where a son had to tell his security guard to what? To loosen the dogs to chase his mother away from his house. This is something that is very, very grievous. And if he has the fear of Allah, he should find a way to reconcile with his mother. Because on the day of resurrection, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely punish him for it. My brothers and sisters, indeed, taking care of our relatives, relating with them with kindness, doing good to them, making sure that we are what? We are of good character, of good behavior towards them is very, very important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't joke with it. My brothers and sisters, indeed, it is expected of you as a believer that what? That you do not sever ties of kinship, that you make the ties of kinship, you make it tighter, you make it tighter, you tell you what? You make sure that you secure the bond that brings you together with your kinsmen. My brothers and sisters, indeed, let us try as much as possible to follow the teachings of the Quran and the Hadith. Our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us in the Hadith that what? He said, "Man kana yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir falyasil rahimah." He said, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, then he should what? He should hold on. He should maintain the ties of kinship. He should make sure that the bond that brings him together with his relatives, he make sure that he holds it tight. He make sure that he does not sever the ties of kinship. My brothers and sisters, indeed, many of us today are not following this hadith. You see so many people who do not want to relate with their family. They do not want to relate with any of their relatives for one reason or the other. Or some people, even for very funny reasons, you hear him, oh, my uncle is so stingy, he doesn't help, he doesn't spend for me, doesn't do this. Today you are now an uncle. How many people have you helped? How many of your brothers' children or sisters' children have you supported in one way or the other? Now you now understand what it is like to be an uncle. My brothers and sisters, indeed, let us try as much as possible that we make sure that we bring our relatives together, our families together. The Prophet ﷺ also told us in a hadith that لا يدخل الجنة قاطع. He said لا يدخل الجنة. He said he will not enter Jannah, will not enter paradise. قاطع, the one who severs the ties of kinship. The one who separates the bond that brings them together. The one who disrespects the commands of Allah that you should come together with your kinsmen. My brothers and sisters, indeed, it is very severe. It is a grievous sin for you to sever ties with your kinsmen. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also told us that in a verse of the Quran, that irrespective of what they have done for you, if they have done something evil to you, you must make sure that you remain kind to them. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah An-Nur, chapter 24, verse 22, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا أُولِي الْقُرْبَى والسعة أن يؤتوا أولي القربى والمساكين والمهاجرين في سبيل الله وليعفوا وليصفحوا ألا تحبون أن يغفر الله لكم والله غفور رحيم. In this noble verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that what? And let not those of virtue that's among you, that those who have, those who are blessed, those who Allah has given wealth, and let not those among of virtue among you and wealth swear not to give aid to their relatives and what? And the needy and the emigrant for the cause of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that what? That what? We said وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. That what? Let them pardon and overlook. If any of your relatives has done something to you and they probably has, asked for your forgiveness and they've apologized and so on, and what you now say, no, I'm not going to give to you because of what you've done to me. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا, that you should pardon and overlook. Then he said, أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Allah is asking us that question, that don't you love, or do you not love that Allah should forgive you? So if you love that Allah should forgive you, then you must make sure that you forgive others. Your relatives, when they offend you, make sure that you forgive them. Allahu Ghafurur Rahim. Allah is forgiving, merciful. In this verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that irrespective of what they've done to you, if they have offended you, and for some reasons you are able to reconcile, so do not say that you are not going to do to them what you used to do to them. If Allah has blessed you, has given to you, continue to give to them, continue to spend out of what Allah has given to you for them, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also overlook your own shortcomings. But when you refuse to forgive them, then that means you do not want the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brothers and sisters in Deen, lastly, we must understand that as Muslims, we are brothers. We are brothers. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in Surah Al-Hujurat, chapter 49, verse 10, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. In this noble verse of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. He says, certainly, verily, al-mu'minun, the believers, they are what? Ikhwa, they are brothers. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. So make settlement between your brothers. Make sure that you reconcile with your brothers. If there is any disagreement or anything, make sure that you reconcile. Do not let the disagreement make you to drift both of you apart. Make sure that you reconcile at all times. Because وَاتَّقُوا and fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fear Allah, لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. And so that you may receive mercy from Him. My brothers and sisters in Deen, we let us try as much as possible to reconcile with our kinsmen. Wherever you are having issues with among your relatives, try to reach out to them. Try to reconcile with them, because that is the best thing to do. When you reconcile with them, you will have peace of mind. But when you refuse to reconcile with them, you both will go with that, and if care is not taken, your children will inherit that enmity that is between the both of you. My brothers and sisters, indeed, try as much as possible to follow the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah of our noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that is the best. That is the best of guidance. And we use this medium to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to shower His mercies to our brothers and sisters in Palestine and all the entire Muslim Ummah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring peace to the world and make the world a peaceful place for us. عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على آلائه ونعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون قوموا إلى الصلاة